Hey everyone, RJ here. Shortly after releasing what I thought was episode 28 of the Vassanoka Adventures, it was brought to my attention by the DMB that I had, in fact, skipped over an episode, which I found very surprising. Fortunately, I have a note keeping track of what days we recorded which episodes and still had copies of the original recordings with timestamps, so I was able to go back and investigate the matter. In doing so, I came to the discovery that not only were they right, but I had actually skipped over 2 episodes, not just one. I scoured my computer's files as well as the backups on my external drives, as did Harrison, who at the time was using his computer to record the podcast. I also checked the recordings of Seafarers and Scallywags that we had made on the same days as these Vassanoka Adventures episodes to see if they had been saved under those recordings. Alas, neither recording could be found. My belief is that when it came time to record Seafarers, we somehow thought we'd save the recordings for those sessions, since we typically export them before breaking for dinner. I do greatly apologize for this mishap, especially happening twice consecutively. To make sure you don't miss any important information, Bee has graciously recorded a brief recap of the 2 missing episodes. Fortunately, most of what was lost from those 2 episodes was just the assault on the Lewis State, and therefore mostly in-game combat, though there are several important details pertaining to the overall story, which they will be going over. Apologies again for the hiccup in the release, and for those of you who have already listened to episode 30, which was originally labeled as episode 28 and is called The Tree in the Clearing, you will be seeing it show up again in your feed, as I am going to republish it so that going forward it'll show up and play after this episode in people's feeds, so that they don't miss anything. But for now, without any further ado, here is Bee with a recap of episodes 28 and 29 of the Vassanoka Adventures.
Hey everybody, this is Bee, your DM for the Vassanoka Adventures, and today I am here to just give you a little recap. We had a small clerical error. We lost episodes 28 and 29, cannot find the recordings for them. So in place of that, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of what happened in those 2 episodes, and hopefully it's enough to get you up to speed for episode 30. The party spends the rest of the night at the Lewis State with Sana. They enjoy her ancient brew, getting increasingly more and more intoxicated. And during this, we have added a little bit of a fight condition, where the more drunk they got, the higher their strength and constitution went up, but they lost dexterity and wisdom. So, as far as the mechanics go, that's how that fight was run. A little sad that we lost that. However, the fight was between our party and Sylvia, a new character that we just got to meet in these 2 episodes. Sylvia is a high elf that at one point in time was Sana's apprentice. Sana, having lived multiple different lives throughout history, in her previous life, she was with a group of bandits. At first, it started off as Robin Hood type stuff, but as she was with this group and training Sylvia, it quickly turned darker and darker, and she no longer could condone the actions of Sylvia. In the end, she ended up getting betrayed by Sylvia and this group of rogues who stabbed her and threw her off a cliff into the Lochmar River. She spent some time in the river before being found by King Ajax, at which point in time he adopted young Sana, who upon death always comes back in the form of a young woman. About 16 to 18 years old, she was found by Ajax and brought back to be his adopted daughter. Sylvia also came with a group of hobgoblins. We find as the battle goes on that she is a Circle of Spores druid who has beliefs in cutting away at the old in order to make new, the process of death for new life. And she leans really heavily into that thought process. So these hobgoblins that she is with, as they fall on the battlefield, she uses her druidic powers to raise them back alive with her spores. The battle goes on like this for some time, with kind of a master mage battle going on in the background between Sana and Sylvia, while the rest of the party is taking out all of these hobgoblins that keep showing up, or I should say keep getting back up. The fight finally is turning in the party's favor after killing off most all of the hobgoblins. Sylvia is forced to retreat after Kroll and Lou are able to get right up on her and start dealing melee damage to her, which is not her strong suit. She ends up getting on a horse and rides off into the forest just to the south of the Lou estate. That evening, after everyone settles down and does finally get to bed, Raven has an interesting dream. I think we might cover this in the next episode, but I will just briefly cover it here. Sylvia gets into the mind of Raven and tries to convince her and turn her to her side. Just like Circle of Spores Druid, the Circle of Fire also believes at burning away of the old in order to make room for the new. And Sylvia had every intention of focusing in on that thought process and trying to, just like Sana had taken Sylvia in and shaped her and increased her druidic powers, she hoped to be able to take Raven and mold her as well. Unfortunately for her, Raven's mind is much stronger than she expected, and she was able to push Sylvia out of her mind without too much problems. Obviously, it's kind of hard for me to put all this together, so a couple of final notes that I feel like are important since we missed the entirety of these episodes. Sylvia also wears a set of white dragon scale armor, and all of the hobgoblins that she was traveling with all bore the mark of a red raven on their forehead. The party takes this information and decides that perhaps the bird that they had saw at the beginning of this campaign, as well as this mark that they have seen now, they must be connected. And the last thing would be that the party also gets an ominous feeling that there is darkness brewing in the forest just to the south of the estate, and they can only assume that Sylvia made her way into the forest and is doing some sort of dark magic there. Anyways, sorry again that we missed these episodes. I hope that this is enough information just to keep you going and so the story makes sense. If there's something else that comes to mind, I will make sure to put it in some of these pre-episodes as the episodes become important. So, anyways, thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to our campaign and keeping coming back for our podcast. We really appreciate it. Anyways, without further ado, go and listen to episode 30. Enjoy!